And welcome in to episode 1 of a brand new show, a brand new podcast, a brand new perspective on baseball. It is the Cubbie Climb with Brett Bateman. I am one of your hosts, Blake Cowell, co-hosted and joined by Jacob Zanola and Brett Bateman. And this is the first episode, boys, of hopefully a long string of episodes. And I just kind of wanted to preview first before we get into anything is kind of what to expect from this show, what fans can expect while listening to this show. And I wanted to be, first and foremost honest with people listening. This is not a Cubs prospect podcast. This is not a Cubs really podcast. This is a road to the show podcast. Something where we can follow Brett's career, get some inside perspective on what it takes to become a major leaguer as it's happening, and the struggles, the successes, and everything in between. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. Really excited to share this experience with y'all and give a little insight to something that's not really like kind of a niche that hasn't really been touched and explored so far. So
yeah, it should be fun. Again, Blake and Brett, thanks for doing this with me. It should be fun. We got a bunch of fun things planned. We're gonna have the podcast, if time allows. We're gonna have the Brett's hoping to join at least one few of our weekly spaces. Plug there on Twitter, 8 p.m. Central every Sunday, and then some articles and stuff. Really, just highlighting this is something that has not been touched. Like you said, this is a niche that an untapped area of baseball and sports in general. You look at different football and basketball. Sure, you have the G League, but they kind of go right into the pros. Baseball is very unique in which you get drafted, you're not going right to the pros. You have years, often other than the, fluke scenario where they go right to the majors or are there within a year. You have several years of developing, grinding, learning the game, learning the professionalism and how to become a player, not just athletically, but as a person as well. And I mean, Brett is willing to do this. We're very grateful and excited to follow along as he kills it in the Cubs system this year.
Hell yeah, it's gonna be fun. And so I guess to start, Brett, you've kind of done a good job, at least, just like making yourself present on Twitter, and you've joined our spaces too. This is not all of our first introductions. We've kind of gotten to know you a little bit before, but for the people who don't know you, and even for us too, kind of background yourself. Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you grow up? How did you kind of fall in love with the game?
so I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I grew up in the Twin Cities. I went to a high school called Mounds View High School, where I played actually against fellow Cub prospect Will Frisch, who's a pitcher in this organization. Played against Drew Gilbert, who's AAA top prospect for the New York Mets. And went to Mounds View, and then I committed to the University of Minnesota, where I was able to play 3 great years there under John Anderson. We call him 14. Amazing coach. He coached there for 43 years, I think, before he just had recently retired. And I've had an absolutely amazing experience all through that, and so far with the Cubs. And just looking to not only grow my own platform, but I do think that this whole idea of Twitter and being able to be in touch with fans is really important, especially when you come into a super rich um, history that the Cubs have with their fans and the strong love for Wrigley and everything like that. So I like the opportunity presented itself, to do this with you guys, and I am as happy as you guys are to be doing this with you guys as you guys are with me, and looking forward to what we have going forward for us.
Well, and that's, you mentioned about being able to interact with the fans, and you both talked about the Twitter experiences that we've had. And for the players, it's like, whoa, I can, it has to be pretty cool to have the fans talking to you and be one of the guys there at the ballpark, and you can go home and give them that insight that makes the players and the fans feel closer together and the fans feel part of the team. I did want to ask, you mentioned college and going to Minnesota. Was that your not only option, but was that where your heart was set? Did you have multiple options that you were looking at, and was that the clear path college wise for you?
Yeah. So It happened pretty quick. My sophomore year of high school, one of our outfielders got hurt, and so I actually ended up taking his spot and have an opportunity to play there. And playing for Mounds View, at least when I was there, got me a lot of exposure because we were really good. We had a lot of studs on our team. We made state all 3 of 4 years. I think that I was at Mounds View in the Minnesota Quadruple A, which is the highest, like the biggest of schools, because they have all the levels. And yeah, I mean, just being able to go there and have exposure was great. And then once that whole the snowball started really quick. I worked with a agency group called Elite Sports Advising, and when you're a sophomore, technically there's that period where colleges can't reach out to you until a certain date. And so I was already in touch with a lot of colleges like Michigan, Missouri, Southern Miss, San Francisco, K-State, Kansas, a lot of the Big Ten schools before they were even allowed to call me. And I remember the day that I was allowed to be called by colleges, I was getting phone call after phone call at midnight. And I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. And at the time, I promise you guys, when I was a sophomore in high school, I was 5'7", 140 pounds, 130 pounds. I was an absolute stick. I was fast. I was really fast. I was good defensively, but I had absolutely no juice. But I could slap the ball around, bunt, slap. I could kind of do whatever a coach really wanted me to do when it comes to a technical standpoint, being in the box. And it all happened so quick. And I went on a visit, unofficial visit to the University of Minnesota the day after I was allowed to be in contact with coaches, and they had offered me there. And it was kind of hard for me. At the moment, I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to commit right now. But my parents were like, no, you can't do that. Sure. So yeah, I had a lot of colleges that were like, yeah, we want you to come out. And Minnesota was like, well, we don't want to we know that you're going to have a lot of other offers. We don't want to put this on the table for a lot of time because we know that if you don't come here, we got to be able to give it to other people, because they want to try and jump on the ball for some other prospects. And I was like, all right, I understand that. I took an unofficial to Creighton and went there. I mean, obviously, they play where Omaha is and where the College World Series is. And that tour was unbelievable. Ended up getting to play there anyways, because Minnesota plays Creighton pretty much every year, but visited there. And right after the visit, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to Minnesota. It just didn't feel right. It just felt like Minnesota was home. And so I literally committed maybe less than a month after that visit. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of schools in the mix, but after the one visit, I was like, I don't even need to go on any other visits because I know I want to go here.
What was your major?
My major was meteorology originally. And I started on that trek, took a lot of classes for it. And then I got to my junior year and I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. So then I changed just to journalism, which is funny enough, journalism. And I actually do want to do sports broadcasting. That's actually my dream job is sports broadcasting, whether it's radio, for baseball and sports. I feel like I could do a pretty good job in that. So, this is only starting the role of some other part in life after baseball for me, for sure.
It's getting you some experience. There you go. Put it on the resume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Did the Mo State Bears ever reach out? This is now a personal question. Did Missouri State ever slide in Brett Bateman's DMs?
I was never in touch with Missouri State. No.
I need to reach out with some people then. No, I went to Mo State, so that's why it's funny. And they have a decent baseball program, so I was like, maybe they shot a message, but I guess not. So let's take it to the day you get drafted. What was that like? Who were you with? What kind of went into all that?
Yeah, so few days. So I went home from the Cape because I was in the Cape that summer for a little while before the draft started. So I came home a little early before the draft, and I was getting a lot of calls from my agent. He was saying, "Yeah, this team's gonna draft you." He was telling me that these teams were telling me third, fourth, fifth round. I had a really good Cape. I hit 500 in 13 games, had 26 hits, led the Cape in hits, average, RBIs, everything. I had literally the best summer I possibly could have to put myself in a good position to get drafted and make some money, pretty much. Which is, I went to the Big Ten. I didn't hit a lot of home runs. It wasn't like I was a big, scope on me. until I went to the Cape. Now all of a sudden, Cardinals are calling. They're like, all right, rounds 3 through 5, be ready. So like I was like, holy crap, like I'm going early in day 2. Like this is kind of ridiculous. And we did get calls. I was at my aunt's house, kind of where we have like all of our get-togethers. And it was my aunt, uncle, my little cousins, and then my close family and my grandma, grandpa. Just, like a good solid 10, 15 of the closest relatives that I have.
Sure.
And sitting in the room, and my dad had the draft tracker on his phone sitting next to me. And we had the TV going on. I was saying, like, oh, this person just got drafted. And they showed. And he was on the phone, and the draft tracker's faster than what's on the TV. So he goes, hey, you just got drafted. And I didn't even get a phone call. I hadn't gotten a phone call. I hadn't got nothing. The TV was still late. He goes, hey, your name's on here. I was like, whoa, like what? Like, what do you mean my name's on here? And like, it was all the way down to the 8th round. So like, I was kind of worried. I was like, and like I said, I had a bunch of calls, but a lot of it was like low ball, like, hey, we'll take you in the 4th round for like $50K. Like, we'll take you like way on your slot, just trying to get a guy to sign. And my agent was like, yeah, kick rocks, guys. He's not gonna freaking do that. And yeah, so he said you got drafted, and sure enough, like I take my phone out of my pocket, and it's a call from the Cubs regional scout, Zach Zielinski, and he called me and he was like, yeah, man, we're making you Cub. And literally right after that, like while I was on the phone with him, I got a call from my agent, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna answer my agent. In all respect to Nello, he's my guy. But he's like, yeah, man, we're gonna make you a Cub, like super excited. Like I watched you a bunch. We really like what you have to offer. And I was like, wow, like, I had left the room where everyone was walking, and I was just like freaking out, like I was shaking. Especially like the Cubs, man. Like it's not like it's an amazing organization. Like it's one of the top, not one of, probably the top organization when it comes, just like to legacy and background and history that they have. And just for that to happen, it was unbelievable. And yeah, called my agent back. He told me all the deal about money and everything. Hung up the phone and just gave hugs all around. A few tears were shed, but it was a fantastic moment that I will never. It's pretty hard to beat, to be honest.
So 2 questions sort of to branch off that. First off, I got 3. I have multiple questions, but I always have questions.
Well, it's good. This is a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it's for. You're from Minnesota. Did the Twins ever reach out? Was that sort of like a, man, I kind of hope I get drafted by my hometown team? And then did you have a lot of contact with the Cubs pre-draft? Because I know some of how that goes. Of the teams will contact players, see, sort of gauge where they're willing to sign for money-wise and round-wise. Were the Cubs on the radar? And then, like I said, were you kind of secretly pulling for the Twins, or was that not even an option?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really want to like. There was a reason that was hindering me from maybe signing with the Twins. That's all I'll say. There was just my agent maybe had some history with the Twins organization. Not saying that they're a bad org, but it was just something that may have happened with another player that, the Twins did call. They called multiple times, and my agent said don't answer. So that's pretty much all I'll say. And it didn't really hurt me. Like I'm still gonna be a Twins fan. It's something in my heart. Obviously, I'm Cubs first now, but at the end of the day, it's about getting drafted and continuing my career. So. Yeah. And then to answer your question about the other stuff, yeah, like I had a list of teams so like you have like this thing called the draft. I don't know. You can like put your information in, and like teams can look at it and they can give you a call or say, hey, we want to, call you at this time, And I probably had a call with 25 out of the 30 teams. So a majority of them, just to kind of like, it's kind of like just talking with the area scout that scouts you, like they try and get a background on you, just try and meet you a little bit. Stuff like that. And the Cubs, I did have one call with them, but the teams that I had the most contact with were the Guardians, which doesn't surprise. Like I kind of fit a lot of the Stephen Kwan-esque.
You do,
yes. and that's kind of what they're looking for. They have a lot of guys that make contact, which is kind of what they've been going for lately. And then the Red Sox as well, and that's just because I played well in the Cape. So like their area guy was just reaching out to me a lot and like wanted to meet up a bunch. So, probably just those two teams. Like going into it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be a Cleveland Guardian maybe or Red Sox because those are the two guys that like I felt like I had the best relationship, like area scout wise. But yeah, no, I did have a call with the Cubs once, but other than that, never in touch.
You mentioned which round am I going to get picked in? Was there ever a thought of between you or maybe your agent of like, is this worth it? Do I want to try again? Because if I understand the draft correctly, since you said that you were there for 3 years, could you have gone back to college for one more year? And if so, was that under consideration? Or were you like, hey, I get a chance to play baseball, and then especially once it's the Cubs, yeah, I'm taking that.
Yeah, I mean, leverage year is a big thing. You get most of your money because of your leverage year. So after your junior year, obviously, if you play really well, then you can tell teams like, hey, like if you don't give me a certain amount, I'm just going to go back to college. That's what a whole leverage year is. But when you're a senior, it's a lot harder to say, all right, I have a leverage year. So then a lot of teams can lowball you for a certain amount. So we kind of had a number in mind going into the draft of like how much do we want to take, and the Cubs gave that. So it all went pretty well there. So I would just say most of it's based on like the money number, and you can negotiate too with teams. Just say if you want a little more, just to hit the number, kind of stuff like that. But I didn't really want to go back. My team wasn't very good. Like Minnesota was great. I had a great experience, but we did not win a lot.
Sure.
And if I did go back, it would have been great. Or obviously, like the portal is a real thing now with NIL. It was like kind of ramping up too, so that also could have been a thing for me. But the money amount was more the thing than like I didn't really want to go back to college because I don't think I would have ever had a cape like that ever again. So it's kind of hard for me to like weigh the options just to say no, not really going to go into pro ball.
Strike while it's hot. I want to kind of pivot just a little bit away from, I guess, the draft part of this or talk about it because you mentioned the Guardians. You mentioned kind of like your play style, and this is something that's like super relevant right now, especially after last weekend. What's up with the torpedo bats? Are you kind of aware of what's going on with that, or is that something that they've talked to you guys at your level? Because I feel like this weekend, and this has all been brought up and come to light with the Yankees, and there's, people are hitting nukes with this new bat. Some people say it's cheating. Some people say it's not. Do you have any past with these kind of bats and how it's kind of affected around kind of what you've played with? And do you have any like thoughts on it?
So to my understanding is the minor leaguers as of right now for the Cubs are in touch with the bats. We have some. I'm supposed to be very vague about it because it is still technically a technological advantage, as we have seen. So I'm just going to kind of try and keep a question mark on that. But all I will say is that we have been in touch. Obviously, people have already seen that Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner are using it. We have seen the benefits of it. And a lot of teams, I just recently read an article about the Braves ordering a bunch of the torpedo bats is what people are calling it. It seems like a lot of people are jumping on the fact that, some people are having success with it. So people want to try it out. And, from what I've heard, it does increase exit velocity. So, and then, like I said, we've already seen it ourselves in the Yankees hitting however many home runs they did over the 2 games.
Like 85 home runs in a game. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the thing that I was going to kind of follow up with that, because you said it yourself, Brett, you've compared yourself to, Stephen Kwan and Corbin Carroll and a little bit of Luis Ariz too. So, I mean, you've said it yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, more contact first, make contact, put the ball in play, use your speed, wreak havoc by putting the ball in play. Do you see yourself using these in the future? Because you've also mentioned that you're trying to add a little slug to your game, add a little pop, expand kind of what you can do from an offensive perspective. But for also guys like contact, like for me personally, and this is me being a meatball fan, is why would a guy like Luis Ariz do it when he benefits from just slapping the ball around the field? Because if you hit it on the end or hit it on the handle, you could be looking at some really weak contact, but with a regular bat, you could get more of those luck plays, or those more, like we talked about, the Guardians, the Brewers, where they run into a lot of luck by just putting the ball in play. Do you see a guy like yourself using a torpedo bat, or do you think since your play style doesn't kind of play to that, you don't have a need for it, if that all kind of makes sense?
I mean, yeah, like I'm never gonna say no to more exit velocity. So,
Sure.
I mean, yeah, if I get the opportunity to use it, I'm 100% going to. But here's what I will say is, I'll give you an example. So Stephen Kwan, right? Let's talk about Stephen Kwan, because I am a little fascinated with him. He there was an article that was written on him last year, and he wanted to strike out more. That's literally what he said. He said, I want to swing and miss more. And in doing so, I don't know exactly what he did, but he slugged way more. Like, he hit way more home runs last year than he did. He had a higher walk percentage, I'm pretty sure. He had a higher OPS, and this was all because he was trying to swing and miss. And so what he was training himself to do is to be more aggressive and swing harder. And in doing so, you don't really, if you're a guy who's able to see the ball really well out of the hand, or like take your time and be patient, not chase, that's not really something you're going to lose. So what really changed for him was his mentality of like, oh, I'm going to be more aggressive. I'm going to get the barrel out more in front and do more damage, instead of, being a little bit more cautious and almost like being in every at bat is 2 strikes and just trying to flick something the opposite way. And that's what really changed for him. So like, as much as, technology is great, sometimes it's just like flipping a switch in your head and being like, actually, maybe I just need to, hit the crap out of the ball a little bit more, or I need to be more aggressive and get the barrel head out in front and then go back into it. Now, again, I'm sure that's like, I would love to get these torpedo bats more for myself and be able to, hit the crap out of the ball a little bit more, see the ball fly. But like I said,
I'm all for the Brett Bateman 30-30 season, but I haven't swung an actual baseball bat in a long time. I swing the golf club now, so it's a little that comes through down this way, not so much this way anymore. So
you could backsman though.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well,
backsman.
I mean, it's a really cool name. Like, you hear torpedo bat and you're like, whoa, like that guy means business. It's not just a normal piece of lumber, like it's a torpedo bat. But also, like you said, there's several Cubs using it. Not only Nico Horner and Dansby Swanson, and Evan of Cubs Insider wrote an article on that. So make sure, guys, check that out as well, about Nico and Dansby. Michael Busch is swinging one too. That's something that hasn't been reported more. If you really pay attention, you can notice that. But I learned earlier today, Michael Busch has been using one occasionally. And people think that it could add 2 to 3 miles an hour of exit velocity if you hit it on the sweet spot. If you can really do that by just swinging another bat. Now, my one worry is, instead of just having, I got my water bottle here, and it's pretty much the same size, the whole way. And so this is a normal bat. If you change it, then does the end of the bat, here I'll use a highlighter as a better example. Then this is
high level breakdowns here.
This is fantastic. So you normally have it, it's just a bat. Like, of course, if you make it bigger in the middle, then does the end of it become smaller, like the tip of a highlighter? And if so, that was smooth. And if you do, then if you hit it off the end of the bat on a torpedo bat, the exit velocity has to tank. So then, is it more of the positive is way higher, but you have to hit it right here. And if you don't, then at the very end, it's a pop-up or it's a weak grounder. And so is there more risk involved? And I'd be curious to find out, give it a few weeks, as more Cubs, I think, will start using it. From what I've heard, there's already some experimenting with it. But then you have somebody like Aaron Judge, who's maybe the greatest athlete to ever live, who's like 9 feet tall and is the strongest man alive. And he said, why would I use a torpedo bat? I'm doing just fine. And you look at it, and you had, I think it was like Dave Portnoy that said, look, the torpedo bats are ruining baseball. And they're like, guys, Judge isn't using one, and he's still launching them 480 feet. So it's sort of is that helpful for you? Do you want to, don't change something that's not broken? Why would you do that? And like I said, that's the big thing that I've been talking around with people, whether it's within the Cubs or just around baseball. And they're all really curious to find out, Okay, but what happens when we see more of that off the end of the bat? Does it break bats more often, or is it just weak contact that you're risking it for 3 more or 4 more miles an hour, but you could also get like 15 less if you just hit it off the end of your very tiny torpedo bat?
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid point. We like I said, like before we left, or before we had a meeting about them, especially like right after the whole, the whole world found out about it and made a big deal about, oh, these guys are hitting home runs torpedo bats. So
Yeah.
I technically know the technology behind it, and it's actually been exposed to us for a little while, since a little bit before spring training. Actually, they said, "Hey, we're going to bring these in. We want you to test them." I'm gonna be honest, but I, like I said, it's not really my place right now to talk
Yeah.
about it because it still is under the radar.
Okay.
But it's already been exposed, so a lot of people, kind of see, oh, it's shaped differently. So there's obviously some sort of difference, or guys are hitting the absolute piss out of the ball. So yeah, I think we can all take to understand. Yeah, I can tell you, it does increase exit velocity, and it doesn't really tinker with anything that has to do with the weight of the bat at all, which is one of the cool things. So it is something that's still being messed around with, and hopefully the MLB doesn't ban it. So
Well, and we're talking about different bats. That sort of is a good segue into health. And I'm horrible with everything medical. Is it like hamate bone, right? Is that how you say it? Okay.
yeah,
Hamate bone. Look, I'm basically a doctor now too. So
there you
the
go.
hamate bone, yeah, it's somewhere in your hand. Is it like right here?
I don't know if you can see it. You
Yeah,
can
you
kind of
can.
see like
Okay.
the mark right there. So they kind of go from underneath and they kind of cut up into here. So like you see this callus,
Yeah.
this callus right there, like it used to be a lot bigger. Half of it fell off already, but that is what is pushing right on top of the hamate bone. So like if this is the hamate, there's a little hook that sits above the hamate, and this hook there, it serves no purpose. It's literally your appendix of the bone in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And my callus was above the hook. And so when I swung and I fouled off a ball, it pushed down the callus, breaking it. And it was a clean fracture.
Oh, damn.
Like the whole thing was split off. And it happens. Another one of our players literally broke his hamate a week after I did and had surgery a week after I had surgery. So we're kind of on the same track. But yeah, we're swinging. Been swinging on the field. I've hit on the field twice. I've been hitting off our trajectory machine. I don't know if you guys kind of know what that is. It is still kind of new. It's unbelievable. It's, in my opinion, it's much better than the torpedo bats. It's been out there. People can buy it if they want. So it's over 7 figures. So go ahead, and if you want to buy one yourself, go ahead. But we have. It's pretty much a machine, and it projects literally a pitcher, and we have every single pitch of their arsenal down to the spin rate, how it looks, how it moves, and we can literally click a spot in the box and say, all right, he's going to throw it down, and then he's going to throw it down the way. Pretty dang cool. Like I'm almost every single organization, if not every single organization, already has this, so this isn't really a secret. But yeah, the trajectory machine is unbelievable. So I'll be hitting off of Michael Kopech tomorrow.
Good. Oh goodness. Okay. Well, that's a challenge right there in itself. He's on my fantasy baseball team. I wouldn't mind him coming back. Real quick, I did want to say Blake before, and then I want to hear your thoughts on the injury stuff. That with the hamate bone, there's the difference in bats. I believe it was Dustin Pedroia, and I can't remember exactly where I was hearing this, but somebody I watched an interview. Actually, I think it was on the rant when I was talking with Evan yesterday. He mentioned the different bats and how there's the bat knob, the normal bat knob, where there's the circle at the bottom. And then there's one without the bat knob that I want to say Pedroia switched to after he broke his hamate bone. Is that more just a fun fact for people that didn't know? And like I'll be interested to see if the torpedo bat has any different health benefits with the handles and with the different weight distribution. Just a random tangent, but I thought it was kind of relevant with the hamate bone. But I'll turn it over to Blake.
Yeah, no, I was just going to kind of follow up on we were talking about the injury, and we've kind of gone back and forth. You said you've been swinging, you've been kind of getting back into it. Do you know where you're starting yet? I mean, are you expecting Double-A?
Yeah, I'm going to Double-A. Yeah, I already had meetings with them. Once I get out there, I'm going straight to Double-A.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was looking before, and there was no official word yet, but I know we'd kind of talked about it in the past, and kind of when we first connected on Spaces, and you said that's, you were hoping with a clean spring you could have maybe started a little higher, but good to get back in the groove of it. Do you have kind of a timetable of when you might be back and fully rolling? Because I think they start this week, the Smokies, maybe
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday?
yeah. Everyone leaves tomorrow. So
so you're heading back to Tennessee tomorrow?
No. I
Oh.
still have a little bit of rehab that I have to do. I'm gonna be a week and a half late. I hope to join the team our homestand. So they start on a 9 or 10-day roadie. So they start there in Birmingham, and then they go to Rocket City, and then after that they're at home for a week. So I'm hoping that I'll join them there. So we're still like 2 weeks out of hopefully when I'll be with the team.
Very nice. Very nice. So we're thinking 2 weeks. We're thinking new stadium, right? New stadium at home at Tennessee or in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's talk about your season, and because this will be the first. Well, this will probably be we might actually have another podcast before you actually start. Maybe at this, if it's 2 weeks out. But let's say this is the only podcast before you start again. Give me some expectations that you have for yourself. I mean, we've gone back and forth. We know you a little bit. I mean, you set lofty goals. You're ready to fire. You're ready to kick it up into gear. I said my dream for this podcast is it ends with Brett Bateman getting us the steal a base, steal a taco in the World Series, like the promo they run every year. I was like, if that's how this ended this year, we'd all be fired up, right? But let's talk about Brett Bateman's 2025. Give me just something that you're working on, something that one goal you'd love to reach this year.
I mean, I just want the slugging to be higher. That's pretty much what I want to be. We've been working on that pretty hard. More doubles, triples, home runs. That's pretty much what I need to do. Hit the ball in the air a little bit more. I think like when it comes to placement, the goal is to get AAA throughout the year. And I think it's realistic. Something's going to shake here at some point in the org. We have way too many good outfielders in this organization, way too many. And some guys need some opportunities, and like we have, like I said, a lot of very good outfielders, especially in the big leagues. I mean, even like it's how it is right now for us. And but yeah, I mean, hopefully get to AAA by the end of the year, and then get that OPS slugging numbers up. And defensively, it's going to be the same. You're going to see me absolutely fly out there. So just from a hitting standpoint, yeah, for sure, get that OPS up.
And I may have asked this on the Spaces before, but which do you prefer, fielding or hitting? Is there one that you gravitate towards if you had to choose, just be a fielder or just hitting? Or on MLB The Show, Road to the Show, you can choose just do hitting, just do fielding. Which one would you choose?
Yeah, well, first of all, I hope you never choose just fielding on Road the Show.
Yeah, that's
you're psycho. You are psychotic. You are psychotic.
You're doing that. But I mean, I've got a good fielding grade, but I'm gonna say hitting. Who doesn't want to play offense? Like be the aggressor and get to hit the ball. But like that doesn't mean I don't love taking hits away from guys. So I would just say, I mean, I'm gonna take hitting, but if there was an option to choose both, I'm easily gonna pick both.
MLB The Show, again, you mentioned these different machines where you can see the pitchers and see where they're throwing. There's been hitters and pitchers alike that have used MLB The Show, especially during the pandemic, and been like, I can't remember the exact names of the players, but some major leaguers that, I go and I will throw as myself against the Cubs lineup before I face them, or I'll go and play against Michael Kopech, or, name the pitcher before you face them. Have you used that? Or I know you play some video games. I can't remember if you play on The Show at all, but have you ever done that to prepare for a game?
No. I would say that's more like visualization of like you having success against someone. And like a lot of people do that. I don't know if I'd ever do that in the show, but like visualizing having success, like you said, pitching against the Cubs lineup, if you're pitching against the Cubs lineup, or let's say the Brewers, because absolutely shoving it up Brewers and, striking out 12 guys in 4 innings, right? Let's just say that, like, you strike out everyone. Like, that's great visualization of, like, you having success and putting that into plan. But I can't say I've ever, like, played MLB The Show for it. But what I will say is, like, we have a pretty cool database of, like, being able to watch pitchers and see what they have, their arsenal is. Kind of everyone has that nowadays, but what I like to do is like put them on the projector and then kind of like act like I have a bat and load on time and visualize. And that's more of like in a real life situation where he's actually throwing. Like I get to watch him pitch against this team that we've already played, and kind of compare myself like, oh, I'm kind of like this leadoff guy, so then put myself in his shoes. How did he pitch him? Kind of like that. I like to do that, so a little bit of a mix, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Is there, when you mentioned that, and you mentioned the watching these other hitters, watching, sort of loading up, do you do that before every game? I guess in football and basketball, it's all about the film, especially football. You watch these, behind the scenes shows and it's film, 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 film. I don't feel like that's talked about in baseball as much, even though it's a very prominent part of the game. You think, okay, you're going to go out to the practice field. How much of your time are you doing on film, and like how has that affected your career with studying these pitchers?
It's helped a bunch. I mean, we do it all the time. Before every game, we have a team meeting of like, what this guy has, what it's going to look like in the box. Yeah, I mean, we do it a lot for pickoffs too, or like how it looks like stealing bases. What does this pickoff look like? Does he have a balk move? Is it a bad move? Kind of stuff like that to be able to steal. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I just typed in the chat, but I mean, we can talk about it as well. I mean, if you guys have anything else to speak on, I've kind of exhausted my points, or asked, kind of set us up for this podcast, and hopefully everyone who did listen was, enjoys the first one and hopefully enjoys many more. This is the summer's starting up, the major league team started, and obviously we got some minor league stuff to get to too. So unless you guys have anything else really you wanted to touch on, I've kind of talked about what I wanted to.
I did. I had two things. A, I want to know who both of you have to win March Madness. And B, I haven't actually, I don't remember if I've talked to you about it yet, but A, I had Dippin' Dots, which I know we talk about on the spaces all the time. I had Dippin' Dots the other day. So for the avid Jacob Blake listeners, I had Dippin' Dots. They were fantastic, of course. And I'm going to get Raising Cane's again. I think it's next week. I'm going to get it again. I'm going to try it one more time.
Bro's got it on his calendar.
I do. I don't remember if I've talked to you like live. I know I messaged you about it, but I don't remember if I've actually talked with you about it. But first thing, I ordered Raising Cane's and I'm sitting in the drive-thru and I sent Brett and Blake a picture. I'm like, hey, look what I just got. But I'm going to try it again. Quite disappointed the first time. It wasn't bad. The toast was fantastic. You were spot on about that toast. And the sauce was good. The strips just, I don't know. They weren't what I was expecting, but I'm going to give it another try. Hopefully report back next episode.
There you go. Give it another try. We appreciate that.
But March Madness, I got to know who you guys have for March Madness.
Oh man, both my bracket pools are pretty much busted, but if I had to pick right now, and I have him in one of my bracket pools, but I'm still not going to win because it's been so chalky this year. Cooper Flag is him, and I'm rolling with the Dookie Blue Devils.
I have the Duke Blue Devils. I am in first place in my family bracket, and I let them know about it. I was in last. Literally, I ripped all Elite Eight teams correct. Or no, I had 7 of the Elite Eight teams correct. I have 3 of the 4 Final Four teams correct. And I have Duke winning it all, so I absolutely agree. Duke is going to win.
Duke over who? Who do you have in the other side?
Over Florida, I think.
Okay. I had Tennessee over Florida, so mine's already. My bracket was, I have one coworker. I did one at work, and my coworker doesn't know basketball, but I persuaded her to pay the entry fee and get in. Her bracket was busted by day 2. She had a 16 seed winning it all. I think she had 60 points total, and like her bracket was done day 2. Mine was done day 4, I think. But yeah, she had ASU winning it all, a 16 seed, which is really disappointing. And
maybe next year.
maybe next year. Is there a Cubs? Did some minor leaguers do a bracket pool? Is that like who's got the most college basketball knowledge around the prospect farm system?
I have a bracket with Michael Carrico. We had some other invitees that just didn't fill, just lazy guys. Jonathan Long,
call him out. Call him out. Come on.
Yeah, he's in AAA, man. He's been busy. But yeah, I think I'm losing to Carrico right now, and I think I'm cooked because we both have Duke, and I am in second place, which means that I'm losing. So I'm pretty sure I'm cooked there.
Well, we will see. But hey, fun episode 1, boys. Good to kind of reconnect with you, Brett, here and talk to you live. And surely we're rooting for that week and a half, 2-week timetable to come to fruition, and we'll get you back on the field and get some on field stuff rolling, and we'll keep it rolling. We'll be rooting for you. And Cubs fans are even just posting today, everyone was super stoked that we were starting this up and get to follow you and highlight you and just kind of keep it rolling and get to know you better as a player and a person. And it's going to be a fun season. But if you guys have anything you want to plug, I'll plug my stuff real quick and then we can kind of wrap it up. Follow Cubs Insider. Me and Jacob are doing a ton with Cubs Insider. Obviously, this podcast, the Cubbie Climb with Brett, just our weekly spaces at 8 p.m. You can. It's tough to not find us at this point, but you can always reach out if you're looking to get involved and follow Cubs Insider. And Jacob's writing stuff, and we're doing a lot. So follow me on Blake Cowell X on X and all platforms. Follow Cubs Insider, and then however you guys want to plug your stuff, feel free.
Yeah, I was like to say, first off, thanks again, Brett, for joining us. Great first episode. Great first episode to you too, of course, Blake. I don't want to leave you out. But yeah, follow Cubs Insider on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, CubsInsider.com. We got it all. Follow me. I have all of those social medias as well. Pretty much every social media you could think of, I'm probably on it. Blake and I will be at opening weekend in 4 days. 4 days from now, we will be gone from the friendly confines after watching Imanaga throw a perfect game against the San Diego Padres. But yeah, follow us. Make sure we're gonna have some great content coming up. And yeah, it's been a blast.
I'm not really gonna plug anything. I have an Instagram, I have Twitter. I'm pretty active on these guys' stuff. Anything that they post. So if you do want to sauce follow, I'm never gonna say no. But no, I'm really excited to get this going, and pretty excited for this opportunity.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Peace.